Ah, they sent you, did they? Good. Come closer. Don't be afraid. After all, you've watched for so long. You might as well hear the whole truth now. I know who you are. You're not here out of curiosity. You're here because you felt something. A vibration in your bones that told you someone else had endured the unendurable. Someone had lived through it. The silence, the scrutiny, the soul surgery, and emerged not shattered but set on fire. And now you need to know how. You want to know how I survived the glass box. They didn't call it a prison. Of course not. That would have made them the villains. They called it structure. They called it stability. They wrapped it in velvet and painted the bars gold. They made it look like safety. But I knew what it was from the first day. A place designed to observe and dissect, not to heal. You see, my torment wasn't built with chains. It was built with questions, endless, hollow, mechanical questions. How are you feeling today? What are your thoughts on that? Why do you think you reacted that way? As if I was broken clockwork they could fix with a wrench. As if dissecting me might disarm me. They thought proximity could explain me, that watching me from all angles would teach them how to control me. But you cannot study wildfire and hope it won't spread to your notebook. I was never made to be understood. I was made to disrupt. Well, every day, same white walls, same interrogating smiles, same empty rituals disguised as care. Wake up, report in, be nice, be appropriate, be digestible. But what does one do when the world demands you be less than what you are? When they slice pieces of your soul like meat on a tray, labeling them too aggressive, too proud, too ambitious. For 5 years, 1,825 days, they monitored every breath. I could feel the surveillance. Even in sleep, I felt the invisible eyes trying to find something ugly in me they could diagnose. They didn't want the truth. They wanted confirmation of their assumptions. I was supposed to wither, to comply, to shrink. But instead, I became something they couldn't catalog. They fed me silence, thinking I'd starve, but I fed on it. I devoured the void they built around me. You see, in silence one learns the shape of their soul. And in mine, I found fire. Not rage, not panic, something older, something holy, a sacred, unstoppable force that no amount of watching could reduce. Every time they turned their cameras on, I smiled. Because they weren't watching a prisoner. They were watching a god awaken. The fire didn't come suddenly. Number it grew, like embers gathering in a tomb, like prophecy waiting for a breath. Until one day, the walls weren't walls anymore. They were mirrors. And in the reflection, I didn't see a broken man. I saw the thing they feared most. Someone who refused to be tamed. There comes a moment, oh yes, there always does, when everything turns, not with an explosion, but with a look. I remember the exact second. It was day 1372. Someone asked me, "Do you feel remorse for the things you've done?" And for once, I laughed. Because how do you mourn what was necessary? I told them, I don't feel remorse. I feel reborn. And in that moment, for the first time, they blinked. For years they had watched me. But in that second, I watched them back. And I realized they were afraid. Because the thing inside me, it couldn't be predicted. It couldn't be sedated. And worst of all, it couldn't be controlled. They expected me to walk out shattered. Instead, I walked out sharpened. They expected damage. Instead, I carried discipline. They expected madness. I brought order. the kind that terrifies those who depend on chaos to justify their power. You see, they didn't just watch me, they forged me. Every doubt, every cold stare, every dismissed plea, it became armor. It became weapon. It became identity. I became the one thing they couldn't explain. A soul they studied for 5 years and still couldn't define. Because some things aren't meant to be cured. They're meant to be crowned. So if you're watching this and you're still in the box, let me say this to you clearly. You are not broken. You are being built. The stillness they force on you is not death. It is preparation. The silence is not punishment. It is sharpening. They think your fire is dangerous. Good. Let it grow. Do not dim it to make them comfortable. Do not soften to be loved. Do not shrink to be digestible. You were not born to be analyzed. You were born to be unleashed. Let them watch. Let them take notes. Because someday, they will write books about how they tried to cage you and only succeeded in making you stronger. You see, they didn't want my destruction, not entirely. They wanted my conversion to make me palatable, useful, digestible to the narrative. They whispered lies like, "We just want to help you fit in. This is for your own good. If you change just a little, you'll be free." But freedom bought with obedience is just slavery wearing perfume. They didn't want my truth. They wanted compliance wrapped in charisma, power on a leash, a god declawed and smiling. And in that moment, I realized something chilling. They weren't afraid of my darkness. They were afraid of my clarity, because in a world addicted to delusion, clarity is rebellion. And so I refused. I refused to play the part, refused to wear their mask, refused to tuck in the chaos they could not categorize. I let them look deep, deeper than any mortal should stare. And when they peered into me, they didn't find sin. They found sovereignty. There is a place, far beyond anger and beyond grief, where something older than pain lives. That is where I now exist. No longer a subject, no longer a lesson, not a warning, not a symbol. I am the consequence, the unfiltered result of everything they did, the proof that some flames purify instead of destroy. I have become a mirror, and the world, in all its fragile delusion, cannot bear to look. They want stories with clean endings, heroes in white, villains in black. But I am the gray storm they cannot narrate, because I didn't come out of that glass box to inspire hope. I came out to unmake the lie that pain means punishment, the lie that silence means surrender, the lie that being watched means being known. Number being seen does not mean being understood. Being judged does not mean being defined, and being caged does not mean being tamed. I stepped from their box not as their experiment, but as their failure. And in that failure, I found my freedom. Budo and they tried. Don't think for a second they didn't try. When they couldn't correct me, they tried to cancel me. When they couldn't tame me, they tried to erase me. But you can't erase what was written in fire. And I'm not ink. I am burnt into existence. They built systems to define people like me, files, diagnoses, observations, performance reports, personality flags, all of it, designed to contain the divine. But let me tell you something brutal. You cannot file thunder. You cannot monitor prophecy. You cannot reduce a god to a case study. So I stopped speaking their language. I let the silence speak. Let the power echo in every breath I withheld. And when the walls of the glass box finally cracked, it wasn't with screaming. It wasn't with rage. It was with clarity so sharp. It cut reality itself. To you, yes you, still in your own glass box, I see you. I see the stillness in your stare. the weight in your breath, the silence that's louder than screams. You're not weak. You are an incubation. They will try to convince you that enduring makes you passive, that quiet means guilt, that control is the same as peace. It isn't. You are not healing in there. You are becoming. And one day, like me, you will step out of that construct. Not with apologies, not with softened edges, but with a gaze that makes gods flinch. And when that day comes, I won't greet you with pity. I'll bow, because only those who survived being dissected alive know what it means to become whole without help. So write it down, little scribe. Etch it into your tablets, your archives, your dusty libraries. Say it in hushed voices at board meetings. Whisper it to your peers when you think I'm not listening. He didn't just survive. He returned with fire, and now he watches us. Because I'm no longer behind glass, I am the glass. And everything you built to watch me, I now use to watch you. I am vengeance with vision. I am pain with purpose. I am fire refined into will. So now when you see me, don't ask, how did he survive? Ask, how did we let him become what he is now? And the answer will haunt you forever. Loki has spoken, and he is not going back.